Greetings. This is Blessed Brooks here at Food and Thought Studio in the Durham region. He'll be sitting down with Paul West, letting us know how to deal with teenagers today and parenting issues that we all face.
Person that comes into the house, there are some signs that we may see before they actually bring a friend like that into the house. What kind of behavior or attitudes would you, that as a parent you should notice that tells you that something is maybe amiss or something is going on with your child that you need to pay attention?
Now, these typical teenager attitude and behavior do not usually suggest a serious problem. I'll start with the good ones. Number one, mood changes and occasionally irritability.
So those are natural.
Those are natural things. And you see the old teenagers going through, you don't have to worry too much about it. And another thing is locking themselves in their room for hours on end. Self-consciousness about their appearance, concerns about acceptance by their peers, being convinced that they know almost everything. All teenagers do that.
All teenagers know everything.
Yeah, a pronounced need for independence and distance from their parents, usually combined with an expectation that those same parents will be there for them when they need them. Disagreeing just for disagreeing's sake, taking their parents for granted, frequent shift in belief and loyalties, and also expressing fear and uncertainty about their future. These are normal things you can expect from teenagers.
Okay, so those are the normal ones which you say, okay, I got 8, 9, 10 of those things, so
that's right.
My teenager is normal. So that's so I'm okay.
Wow.
That's okay. Now, what if I notice something that is not on that list? What kind of things should bring my attention to say, take notice, something is going on here?
Well, some of the things that should cause an alarm or should alert you are: one, when you see an isolation from family life and continual refusal to talk to you. 2, ongoing extreme or suspicious behavior, being insensitive, being secretive, or constantly angry. Another thing, also continually breaking rules and curfews, or constantly sleeping beyond normal night hours. Also, it can also be spending most of their time with friends who get into trouble. And also loss of interest in school and other constructive activities. Another things can also be irrational overprotectiveness regarding friends, especially in the face of clear evidence of their fault or wrongdoing. Those are some of the things that you have to watch out.
Okay. And so I'm at home and I'm watching this program, and I've seen some of the things that you've mentioned. That my son is constantly breaking curfews. His friend got into trouble with the law, and yet he's defending him and saying that if he had been in the wrong place at the right time, and vice versa, things like that. Is there anything that a parent should begin to do to begin to change that behavior, to change things? Anything that he can do?
Well, I would suggest that they see a professional help. It is always good to look for someone who is trained in that area, who will be of good benefit.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, we all have different styles of parenting. There's some of us that are aggressive. There's some of us that are too lenient. There's a mixture in between. I guess A-type personalities and things such as that. So, what are some of the parental styles that most of our audience or most of society may fit into?
Well, there are so many of them, but we will limit it to a few. First of all, we'll talk about the overindulgence parent. Some children are raised with everything that they want and still find their way into trouble. Some parents, particularly if they felt depraved rather than enriched by their childhood, think their child should have everything they didn't have. Okay, you may pamper your child deliberately or compensate unconsciously for your own disadvantaged past. Being denied what they want at any time may then lead to anger and defiance. So a teenager, when you raise a teenager like that, they learn to know that everything comes, and if they don't get it, they become very angry.
So that's an overindulgence.
That is the overindulgence.
Right.
And then when we come to the over permissiveness, most parents also, these are parents who, in some point, when their children are so draining, that they wear them down. And when you fail to set limits, your children develop an inflated sense of their own power. Most of teenagers need at least some constraints with clear consequences for breaking them.
Mm.
So those are the over permissive. They allow the kids because sometimes it becomes too much for them and they let go. And if you raise a child like that, that is not good.
So you allow them to do too many things. So you have the overindulgent, who's too much into the child's life.
Yes.
And the over permissive, who lets basically anything go. So most parents, when we ask them, are you this type, they're going to say no, maybe just a few things. Or am I over permissive? They're going to say no. So most of us may fit somewhere in the middle.
The last one failed to don't to carry off is the over control one. Those are parents with an angry adolescent. If you are repressive parent with an angry adolescent, you are in for a rough ride. You demand respect and your teenager feel compelled to rebel. You tell yourself that you have to keep your child from doing something dangerous or destructive. What good parents won't do that? We all would like to do that. Unfortunately, your demands usually backfire. So that's the problem with the over-control parents. They want to push it, and most of the time it backfires. Parents who favor strict control may find particular difficulty with children who routinely try their patience. Well-meaning parents may be shocked to find themselves even screaming, threatening, and resorting to punishment. And the last one is the inconsistency. Those are the ones who anything goes. And if you have a teenager and you are inconsistent parents, the teens are keen observers of your behavior and quickly will point out all the inconsistencies.
So inconsistencies meaning times and limits and things such as that, which leads us into our next question is setting limits.
Yeah.
So you have an 18-year-old daughter or a 16-year-old son, and they're both in the same house. So how does a parent set limits for those when we know that we have double standard in society as to what one can do and what one cannot do? How does it come about so that it is done in a fair way, so that the daughter doesn't feel as if the son is being allowed to do certain things as opposed to the daughter?
Well, the first question I think parents have to ask themselves, how do you feel as a parent by setting limits? The truth is this, giving into a child's demand just makes them more persistent. On the other hand, you may also be other extreme of parents who places excessive limits and restriction on everything, which can also have a negative repercussion for your family. So then how do you go about it? Now, when it comes to setting limits, how much weight do you give to your child's feeling is a key. Are you willing to listen to your child before you make a decision? Or must your words be final? It's a question every parent can ask themselves. If your child feels you do not take his feelings seriously, he may withdraw from you and resist the limits you set. Now, how do you feel about letting go of your child? Another thing we have found out that one of the hardest things parents must do to acknowledge that their children are no longer children and that they are growing. They are growing up. It is so tempting to think of your child as a child and not as an emerging adult. On the other hand, some parents are also ready for their teenagers to be out of the house, which sometimes also can make the child very insecure.
Okay. Yes. Now, getting back, because I want to make sure we touch on that question, because there may be some. When you set the limits for gender limits,
yeah,
is there